Hey, how's it going? It's Lawrence from the Performance Ranch, and we have Coach Maya here. We're gonna introduce her to our system. She just came on board, so we've only seen her move a few times, so this should be very interesting. She does run. She's a runner, a mile every day or so, maybe a little bit more when she has a little more time. So this series is gonna be on running and how to enhance your running performance. We've already talked about our foundational systems as far as hinging, squatting, pushing, pulling, and core. That is kind of our foundation of everything. When we get those movements right, that comes right to this spot right now. So we're gonna actually work on running, which is what our end goal is, be able to run or walk without pain, without any injuries. So starting from there, we're gonna go into just a little assessment on her and kind of see how she moves. All right, so we're gonna start off with just seeing how she moves overall. So I just want her to do just the basic overhead squat. This is kind of our simple movements that we do. We're not gonna pull the whole FMS kit out, but I just wanna see her move because I have seen her squat. Looks really, really good. She is an athlete, been an athlete for a super long time, so she has some good movement there. Great, let's go ahead and I want you to stand up nice and tall. Go push your hands behind your head and just going to raise one leg up. Good, I'm going to switch. So again, looking at stability points, looking at her movement overall, looks really good. So we're gonna kind of go from there. I'm gonna say, adequate mover. That means we can now get into some of our warm-ups. Most people will start similar to this. The squat, probably not so much. That it was a very good squat, so good job. But we're gonna do our warm-up first, okay? So our number one thing we like to work on is getting the hip flexors loose. That's the number one thing. So we're gonna get down, we're gonna just do a world's greatest stretch. So let's start you right down here. We're gonna walk down that way towards the camera. So first thing I'm gonna have you do is grab your knee, pull it up towards your chest, get nice and tall through that bottom leg. You're gonna take a step forward. Let's go ahead and drop your hands inside to your inside of your leg. Keep that back leg extended. Push your left arm through the ground. We're gonna rotate your shoulders and your hips and reach that arm up. Then come right back down. Let's go ahead and straddle that right foot. You're gonna lean back, try to stretch out that right leg. And then you can also try to push the toe down to the floor, get that ankle. Good. Let's go down to your knee. We're gonna put your knee directly underneath your hips. So going to slide it forward. Tuck your pelvis, reach up to the sky, and I want to repeat that on the other side. Up, step out, drop down. Again, you can let that back leg slide back if you need to. Turn your shoulders, plant that right hand, reach, straddle that left foot, hamstring, and now ankle. Good. Slide the knee underneath you. Tuck your pelvis and reach, stand up tall. All right, so typically we would do that, about another 2 or 3 times more, but just for time's sake, we're gonna kind of go there. That looked really good. So now we're just gonna do an alternating forward lunge. Just going to step back, and we'll face the camera. Just want to just step forward, drop down to that back knee, come right back, and going to switch. Perfect. We'll do that 3 times each side. So again, I'm just looking at her moving side to side, going straight ahead. Looks really good. She's able to get her hips under her. Perfect. 1 more each. Good. And now we're gonna work into a lateral lunge now. So just gonna step out to the side, drop your hips back, stretch out that inner groin area, drop to the side, it's back and forth. Perfect. So she has really good range. Mobility is really good. So most of us won't be like that. You'll actually be more like me, a little tighter, but that's really good. And she's able to control that range in that space too, which is awesome. All right, we're gonna stand up nice and tall. Now we're gonna work into the hip extensors. So we're just gonna do a single leg deadlift here. We're gonna kick straight back and reach, and then go and extend all the way up. You can come into this run posture here, right? So if you want, you can reach the hands out in front of you, come back up, hands up. We'll do that about 3 times each side. So for those of you that don't remember, when we did our hinge video, we kind of went to a thorough little teaching methods on how we get somebody to this position here. So check out that other video on hip hinging, and you can actually see how we get to this pattern here. Really good. Let's do it one more time. Perfect. So again, simple little warm up. I'm just getting her hip flexors, hip extensors, getting her core a little warmed up, and her posture. So I don't really talk too much about it, but she has good posture. So we're working on standing up tall, getting it nice and long through the head here. So now we're gonna work on our little marching drill. So we're gonna get into our running prep. Let's go ahead and step back a little bit. So I like to do this Start feet together, get nice and tall. So remember, all this comes down to pelvis, right? Pelvis needs to be stable and level to the ground or parallel to the ground. So what we don't want to do is walk around with our butt tucked back, right? We want to kind of pull the hips under us. And I want you to think about leading with your belt buckle. So get nice and tall. We're gonna go hands up, and we're just gonna march down. Just working on posture, keeping the hands up behind the head. Getting the hands up behind the head, help lengthen out the core. Work on that anterior side, and now she's really working on getting the knee and toe in front of her. Good. Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and we're gonna do that going back, but this time we're gonna do it more of a little skip. So it's still hands up behind the head, and we're gonna watch from the back view first so we can get the little pop and skip, and then we'll come back towards the camera. There we go. Good. Let's go and turn around. Same thing. Hands up. Again, we're looking at posture, looking at patterns. Just getting the knee up and your foot right underneath the knee. Perfect. Right, so now it's gonna walk back. So now we did it with nice and long with the hands and the posture, so now I'm gonna add the arms to it. So we're just gonna march first with those hands. So that was Roxy Dog there. Good. And remember, driving those elbows back. Think about moving from the shoulder by driving the elbows back. There you go. And as you do that, try to minimize, let's do that again, but this time we're gonna add a skip to it, but minimize any elevation with the shoulder, okay? Try to stay tall and long through the head. There you go, add a little skip, good. Really good, perfect. All right, so the last thing we're gonna do here, we're gonna do a high knee run, okay? So we're gonna go back towards the camera, nice and tall, posture. We're gonna do that high knee run. Quick feet off the ground, elbows back, good. And done, good. So all that's prep, right? So the goal is when we run, what we want is our posture tall and long, so head, top of the head through the heels, straight line. We also want to be running in front of us, so we're driving the knee forward. That's going to be our system of how we lengthen our stride out. What a lot of people think of to get a longer stride is they think of they have to reach in front of them. The problem is you put the brakes on every single time. So what we want to do is drive that knee, step, and as we step, our body's going to be right on top of our leg. So we're actually increasing our stride length by pushing off and driving the knee forward rather than trying to extend out, okay? So we're gonna take a little break here, then we're gonna hop on the treadmill, and then we'll kind of go from that point, right? All right, so looking at, I just had a little brief little thing. Let's actually go in and run a little bit. Again, I've never seen you run before. This is our first time we've done these drills with you here. So this is a typical runner. This is what I see a lot of people do. You know, somebody who necessarily didn't come from a running background, but still runs, you know, you run for fitness, things like that. So I call this running behind her. So you can see how her legs are really low. Again, she's just jogging right now, but I'm looking at patterns. So the pattern she likes to demonstrate here is she wants to tilt her hips forward, so everything kind of spills out forward, and then she's running behind her. So you can see how her legs she's trying to get her stride length from the back side rather than the stride length from the front side. So we're gonna do a couple little drills. So think of what we just did as our warm up. I want you to try to pull that pelvis under you and try to bring your knees forward, like you're trying to shatter glass with your knees. It's gonna lengthen your stride out. You're gonna feel a little bit smoother. And the only thing, again, this is the first time ever doing this, and I know it's the first time on this treadmill as well, so there's a lot of things going on here. So I'm gonna let her get used to the pattern. We're not gonna talk to her too much. She's just gonna try to figure out that pelvis. You know, for those of you, most of you are not gonna be running on a treadmill like this. This is a self-powered treadmill. There's no motor on it, so she has to do all the work, and it is pretty challenging. It's like running up a hill, like a sandy hill, I would think. You know, it feels like it takes a lot to turn that belt over. All right, so now, just kind of gets a little pattern there. I want you to get taller. Think about having a belt buckle on. You're gonna lead with the belt buckle forward, and you're gonna try to bring your knees up in front of you. There you go. So you're gonna lengthen your stride length out by driving your knees forward, not by reaching behind you for it. And obviously this thing doesn't have a speedometer here, so we don't really know how fast you're going, but how does it feel overall?
It feels a lot more forward.
Yeah, you feel more natural?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's good. That's good. Go ahead and slow down and walk. So I know this is a lot right now going with it. So we introduced a new pattern. The thing about a new pattern, it takes a lot of time to build into it. What you just saw her do with the warm up, that's literally her starting in her first time actually training with our exercises and our movements. So there's a lot of intention with what we're trying to do for her. We're trying to really think about pelvis level to the ground. We're trying to really think about driving that knee forward and then staying tall, get a long posture. So that's 3 big things that we're trying to do in a condensed time. So obviously when you get fatigued also, it's harder to maintain that. So we try to do it more in intervals. When we're really working on changing a running pattern, we're gonna do it more in an interval type of exercise, meaning you're gonna run for maybe a minute, 2 minutes, and then you're gonna walk for another minute or 2 minutes, just so you have enough time to decompress and figure out, okay, what did I just do? Because now we're gonna ask you to do it again with a little less talking from me and a little more action from your side. All right, so the big thing I want you to think about is pelvis gonna tuck under you, right? So you're trying to bring your belt buckle forward and you're trying to get tall from the top of your head all the way through your feet. As you bring your hips forward, your knees are automatically gonna drive. All right, so just think about shattering glass, tall. All right, let's see it again. I'm gonna put you in a little timer here. That looks really good. So that's it. I mean, she's already kind of seen the pattern. Like I said, she is an athlete. She trains as an athlete. So understanding the instructions I gave her, she was able to take that in and get right to that pattern there. For some of you at home, it may take a lot longer to get to the pattern. But like I said, try to do it in shorter bursts rather than, hey, I'm gonna go run 5 miles with this whole new form. You just won't be able to do it, and you'll kind of resort back to that natural pattern that you were used to. It's really good there. And I see you can kind of see, maybe we'll get a side shot here. All right, so we're looking at it from the side view here. And as we do this, we're really thinking about what her pelvis is doing, right? So we're looking at, is it more neutral to the ground? And using this bar here, you can see it's more parallel to the ground. It's also driving her knees up in front of her more. And the return, the back swing, her heel is getting getting even with her knee, which is great. That's what we want to see. So we call this front side mechanics. So her front side mechanics are coming along, and that's gonna drive her backside mechanics. So I haven't told her anything about anything going on in the backside. It's all about the front side. Every time she does something properly in the front side, the backside will naturally do what it has to do. You feel like you're running faster too?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can tell she's getting that knee up higher, so she's getting higher up on the treadmill. That's the thing about this treadmill here, the higher up you get, the faster it turns over. So she's increased her stride length here without trying to overextend. All right, Maya, that's really good there. So what was the big takeaway that you kind of saw there?
For me, I think it was getting my knees up higher.
Okay.
Because when you started talking about how I was initially running, I did feel like my feet dragging behind me. And bringing that knee up, I can feel it increased my stride a lot. Good.
So the biggest takeaway you were saying is you felt you were running faster with less effort, right? And that's kind of, we're thinking about stride length. So the overall, by pulling the pelvis under you and getting that knee out in front of you there, you automatically increase your stride length without us saying increase your stride length. That's one thing. I've actually done this test before where I've run outside and I went back to my old way of trying to kick my butt back and running more backside rather than front side. And I went and stepped off my footsteps to see, and for me it was 1 whole foot shorter by running with backside mechanics and rather than concentrating on my front side. So that's 1 whole foot. For me, I have a size 14, so that's a little over a foot per stride. So, and it's 100% correct. I looked at my heart rate running like that. My heart rate was the same or even less, and I was running faster. So I was covering more distance with less effort, which is what you're gonna start to see. So when you go outside, start to try that. And you can play around with, okay, let's go back to old way, let's go back to new way, and start watching that time. You'll be like, oh wow, it's the same effort, but yet it's actually faster.
Yeah.
So, well, cool. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad you're able to feel that, and we look forward to doing this more often.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool, awesome.
Cool.